to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome in. It's go time, Wednesday, April 24th, right ahead of the NFL Draft. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined by Matthew Betz and Mike Wright.
Draft week is here, boys. Big week ahead. And, Kyle, I got to kick it back to you, dude. Is it Jaden or Drake at number 2? Come on. Tell the people.
My heart says it's Drake,
Okay.
but the betting says it's Jaden.
I know that's eating you up inside.
The rapper?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
We
know
that's
that
a bad joke. That's not how I started the show. I apologize, everyone. That's terrible. That's terrible.
Drake ruins everything in sports. We know that. We know that that's true. Yeah, there's a lot that we don't know. We're recording this on a Tuesday. It's in your ears on a Wednesday. And then on Thursday, everything, and I mean everything, is going to change. So I think it's okay to say that we don't know as much as we think we know at this point.
Never do. Something that we have at the Footballers been talking a lot because, you know, we're aging. You're at that
Some
40.
of us.
Well, no, actually, everyone is aging every single moment of every single day. Kyle, just remember, you're one second closer to death. Everyone that goes on, don't ever forget that. But we're old, and you still have that thing where you're like, I know I'm old because my body tells me I'm old, but you still feel locked in. Like your brain is, no, I'm a young adult. Like I can be surrounded by other adults and feel very outmatched. Like, no, these are grown-ups that I'm with, and yet I'm the same age or sometimes even older. And it's coming to realize that no one has any idea what they're doing about anything. It's just everyone is faking it and pretending like you know what you're doing. And that's what we all do. So why not have a good time while you're doing it?
And especially when it comes to fake football. But there's some informed...
But we do. We know what we're talking about.
We have some informed opinions. We have some things that we've talked about on this show, just some player takes. But yes, things are about to be shooketh, as they say. It's about to change.
Yeah.
So it's a big week for, football, for life, but especially for the fantasy footballers, because first off, we're having the Ultimate Draft Week giveaway. And let me just tell you right now, we give away free stuff, but we're giving away probably the best thing if you order the Ultimate Draft Kit by this Sunday, April 28th. Justin Jefferson signed jersey. Maybe you've heard of him. Travis Etienne signed jersey. And then a Listener League spot, which Betz, you've never been in the Listener League, and neither have I.
Sure have not.
Never will be.
Because they don't want to lose.
Well, I mean, you can enter.
I'm gonna buy the UDK.
I lose plenty bets. But just to clarify on what Kyle said, I want to make sure everyone knows, it's not everybody gets all of those things.
What?
Yeah, it's
You get a Listener League. You get a Listener League.
Grab the Ultimate Draft Kit. I would grab the UDK Plus personally because you're listening to the Dynasty show. But if you do that by Sunday, you are entered into a free raffle then where 3 of the prizes are the Jefferson jersey, the ETN jersey, and the tippy top being the spot in the Listener League. Play against me, Andy, Jason. We draft in August. It's always a fantastic time. So look, if you're going to get the draft kit, why not get it right now? Lowest possible price. The price increase is coming very, very soon because the whole product is about to launch. But get in on cheap price, can win some stuff.
And we've got everything about to be updated in the UDK Plus with the Dynasty Pass. So all of the rankings, risers and fallers, you can find all of that for startup rankings. And the other day someone was asking me like, hey, so what do you guys think about this player? And we have all of those players, and they will be statted out as well for the regular season. So all of that is coming very soon.
But UDKplus.com.
Very good. And then I guess we should say this because it is a big deal this Thursday. If you're listening to this, you can join us on NFL Plus for the Fantasy Footballers Draft Special. We will be live on NFL Plus. I will be live as well in the great state of Arizona.
Yeah. Look who's committed to the company, Matthew Betz.
Okay, you know what? No, listen, I'm gonna let everyone know. I'm worried about Thursday. For those that don't know, I have a small procedure happening Thursday morning. and I'll be under general anesthesia for a certain period of time. But I literally, I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, okay, how long does it take me to recover? Will I be good to go for round 1? But more importantly, will I be good to go for on the East Coast? Probably 10:30, maybe when you guys go live, because I would love to sit in and watch this. So in my head, I'm doing all this, mental math of when will I be ready to go to watch this? So I might tune in. I might comment some silly things. I mean, we don't know, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah. So it'll be on NFL Plus. You go to plus.nfl.com if you want to sign up today. And it's going to be just a jam-packed weekend. On this show, though, we want to give you some tools, because here's the worst part about this week. If you listen to any podcast or any media, that by the time that you listen to anything else on Friday and Saturday, it's out of date. So
right.
We want to give you some scenarios to work with on this show. When you have your rookie drafts, I have one Sunday night, I have one Monday, I have one Tuesday. It's 3 days in a row. I just have my rookie drafts. And there's a piece of information that I don't have yet. It's the landing spot. It's the NFL draft capital. So we wanted to give some tools because things will change. So I feel like I just want to give a preface. We might say something on this episode, and you might hear something on any other podcast, and then 2 days later you're like, oh, well, that player clearly didn't go there. Why did they talk about that? So instead of speculating, let's just kind of give a range of outcomes on this episode. We'll say, hey, you know what? This player, they went in the first round, but they went ahead of this other player. How does that change rookie drafts? So I feel like we're trying to give good information here. We're not idiots, right?
Correct.
Depends who you ask.
Okay. I wanted somebody to listen to us, and then on Saturday be like, they mentioned that on Wednesday, and they were so right. Nothing better than just having an out-of-date take on a podcast. Zach Wilson aside, we'll move on. If you didn't listen to the main show, it was
go listen.
Perfect timing to talk about Zach Wilson. But let's get into this.
Hey, rookie. Welcome to the NFL.
So we're going to talk through some Dynasty rookie draft rankings because it's right around the corner for you, and give ourselves what we like to call at Footballers HQ a holistic approach. So we're going to look at this from here's what the consensus has said in the mock drafts. Here's where they look like they're going in big boards. Here's what the sports books say, and try to find a middle ground. And if you're one of those people, those sick, twisted people that love to read, then we have this in article form if you want to read a short novel.
Yeah, Kyle put together an article that is like Stephen King was like, too long didn't read, brother.
I'm not kidding. It's taken me 3 days to actually complete it, because I'll get 15, 20 minutes in. And what did they tell you in school? You only have the capacity to learn for a certain finite amount of time before your brain starts to just drift off. So I found myself reading this thing, and I'm like, I need a break. I got to come back to this later.
Yeah, get in
It
there.
is a beast of an article, but really good information.
Yep, it's called Dynasty Rookie Drafts, weighing the NFL draft in a range of outcomes, and that is only for UDK Plus subscribers, Dynasty Pass people. So it is walking through every single player and saying, here's the range of outcomes for them. Here's where they would be historically. Looking at Brian Thomas, it would be one of the lowest targets per route run ever for a first-round wide receiver. What does that say about him? What does that say about other players? So you can go on the website, but we're going to walk through these main positions, talk about the players. They're, if they go here, how does that change your mind? So at quarterback, we really don't have to speculate about Caleb Williams. He's currently minus 20,000, which if you need some percentage odds, that's 99.5%.
It would be, guys, it would be the greatest thing ever.
We need chaos, though.
if the Bears didn't select Caleb Williams.
They go Penix.
Just
screw us all over.
It would be so fantastic, but it's not happening, so not much to say here.
Yeah.
He's a Bear. He will have, for sure, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen and DeAndre Swift, which that's a great start.
Yeah, and just when we talk about rankings, we're going to talk about Superflex, one quarterback, but we've done rookie mock drafts for them. You have the rookie rankings if you need them in the Dynasty Pass, but in Superflex, if you have the 101, you need a quarterback, take him. If you're saying, hey, I'm just going to take Marvin Neighbors there, before him, that's totally fine. But final question for Caleb Williams. What is the earliest you would take him in a one quarterback draft?
Ooh. Do you have something, Betz?
So I'm just trying to think of kind of where I would draw the line. there's obviously 3 wide receivers you're taking with the big 3 in Marv, Neighbors, and Odunze. And then people, I think, are kind of split on Brian Thomas. I know there's a report about him having needing a shoulder procedure after the NFL draft before the season. So people are saying maybe he falls a little bit. But if he falls, like, he might fall into the lap of Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes, right? So then it's like, okay, well, you're taking him. So I think I'd still take those 4. And I personally am on Bowers over whichever quarterback you prefer in this class for fantasy. I know that not everyone loves rookie tight ends, but he does look like one of those prospects where he's going to get an opportunity to, produce right away and presumably be a top 15 pick. So I think I would take all of those names above the first quarterback, but then to me, it's fair game.
Okay, so like 106-ish?
Yep, somewhere in there.
I might be on the more time that passes, I might be on Caleb Williams above Brock Bowers, but that's mostly because you can get the tight end 1 in the draft like later, like in the second.
I love that he is getting so much steam, by the way, and so much hype.
Dude,
the senator.
Ben Sinnott, by the way.
Ben Sinnott.
Oh, they know, Kyle. They know.
The senator. Yeah, everybody knows. When you, one of the greatest just feelings that in this business is, which is why people go hard in the paint of trying to be early on a player, which can be very dangerous, and you have to be willing to change your opinion. But I don't know when that was. That was quite a while ago that we were talking about tight ends. And I'm like, I really, really like Ben Sinnott. I think that this dude is going to be a dog in the NFL. And then it's just been a constant steam, which maybe I'm just locked in on the algo now. The Twitter machine knows, send Mike Ben Sinnott propaganda. He wants to see it.
Especially that the 3 of us all kind of like him. This could only turn out terribly, by the way.
No. That's going to be great.
The senator. Let's keep talking quarterback. And it's kind of between Daniels and May for the 2nd and 3rd pick. So I kind of want to phrase this question of, does it change your outlook in rookie drafts if May is drafted 2 to the Commanders and Daniels goes to the Patriots? Because right now the betting favorite is Daniels goes 2. In a rookie draft, is it still just, doesn't matter, Daniels with his rushing upside needs to go before May?
I think it leans that way for me because with the way that fantasy football works and rushing quarterbacks, assuming that Daniels is a top 3 pick, which that feels like a really good bet to make. I think no matter where he goes, you should probably take him over Drake May. Him going to Washington, it helps a ton. Honestly, though, just to have the stabilization of Terry and maybe the ghost of Jahan Dotson. But it's what the Patriots, I mean, it seems so far away. I mean, maybe you guys have a different view, but the New England Patriots offense to me feels a very far way away from being a powerhouse and giving us the numbers that we need for fantasy football. And then if you put Drake May, who we've discussed at length, but the synopsis is the guy has incredible tools, but his path to destroying a franchise, I think, I lean it's higher on the side of he doesn't evolve into the player that people hope. He's young, inexperienced, all this, and still has shown enough that he's probably a top 3 pick. But you still have to have the people in place that can turn him into the proper quarterback. Josh Allen sucked. Josh Allen, Josh Downing, the guy that we've moved on. We're locked in. Josh Allen is an elite quarterback. That dude sucked for 2 years, but he had the right people around him to turn things around. And if May doesn't have that, then I think it'll be a problem.
I largely agree with that.
So that was a long-winded way of saying yes. I'm even if Daniels goes to the Patriots, who I just dunked on for 3 minutes there, I think I'd still take him because of the upside and the safety of fantasy points because he runs.
Yeah, I pretty much echo that exact thing. Is even if he goes to the Patriots and they're terrible and they don't have real weapons, like he's going to run no matter what. If he goes to Washington, he's going to run, right? And he's got the weapons there. So I think either way, I just lean into the rushing upside. And I do agree, like Drake May to me feels like one of those guys that when you look at the quarterback position, depending on where he goes in the NFL draft, if it is the New England Patriots, those are the spots that you get worried about. How does it go in year one? How is he valued in year two? If the skill group is as bad as it is on paper, which is bad on paper, right? Kind of this, I know there's some rumblings too with the Giants, like same thing. Like they just don't have playmakers to support a young quarterback, and that's when things get really tricky. So I lean into the rushing upside with Daniels. That's my personal take, even though as a prospect, I still like Drake May.
I'm going to throw a wild card at both of you guys. Minnesota manages to go up to 3. They get Drake May. How does that change things for you?
I know what I would do.
I thought about this because May in Minnesota is a great fit. I really like Kevin O'Connell. I think that he's a good offensive coordinator, and they've been pretty pass heavy, right? Like they've been like bottom 5 in rush attempts the last 2 years. So I think you can have confidence in a landing spot with a team that has really good weapons. It's just so hard. We talk all the time about rushing. Like Jane Daniels has the 3rd highest rush share ever for a first-round quarterback. It's like only behind Lamar and Johnny Manziel. But it's just so different. I mean, Mike, you've talked about Anthony Richardson, and when you run that much, now May runs enough where he can give you Daniel Jones, somewhere between Daniel Jones and Josh Allen. I think that's what he's going to be as a runner. But I think at the end of the day, like it's still going to be Daniels, who I take in a fantasy league. But if I'm making a bet, I personally think May can work in the NFL better if he has the right coaching staff. And the thing about the Patriots is 2 years from now, let me ask this question. Who are their wide receivers?
Not anyone on the team right now.
I mean, it's Demario
Douglas and a very early wide receiver pick next year.
So that's what's tough, because this team was dreadful last year. I mean, they couldn't sustain drives, but it's a different offensive system with Alex Van Pelt. So I think either quarterback can work with the Patriots, but it's going to be this slow grind. And the question I think we have is this going to be a Bryce Young situation where the situation's so bad that a year from now they lose value, which is super rare for a quarterback to be taken in the top 5. And then a year later, you're like, oh, this is a depreciating asset. So that's my only worry. And so in Superflex leagues, I'm not going to talk anyone out of taking these guys, after somewhere in the top 5. Like if you want to take Marvin Neighbors before them because you like wide receivers, do it. Don't feel pressured into taking quarterback. But I think the order is pretty clear for quarterbacks, despite the landing spot to me.
Okay. And then, because like another fit to me, JJ McCarthy goes to, because like we're just doing wild scenarios right now, guys. Yeah. So, Minnesota moved up. They got Drake May. JJ McCarthy goes to somehow the Denver Broncos make it happen. I don't know what the path is, but somehow they do. And now Coach Payton has his new version of Drew Brees, where I'm not exactly saying JJ McCarthy is going to be Drew Brees, but I'm saying, like on tape, my evaluation of JJ McCarthy is the dude knows ball. He is a ball knower. He's accurate and he's quick with his decisions of making the read. And dude, I mean, Drew Brees was smarter than you, and Drew Brees was super accurate. He didn't necessarily have a rocket ship of an arm when he, that started to dwindle there as the Saints, but how's that for an offensive fit? I mean, I think that's pretty interesting to me. Skill position players are going to be an issue that they'll have to fix.
They are booty.
So, look, what are you're already Marvin Mims? He's dead to you?
No. I like Marvin Mims. He's cheap in dynasty leagues. He's cheap everywhere. But
point being, JJ McCarthy goes to the Broncos, and that's Coach Sean Payton. Is the allure of what Sean Payton was with the New Orleans Saints, or is that gone? Was that just a product of he was in the right place with the right players, or can he fix Denver and JJ McCarthy's the answer?
That's another one that's so tough, because I see where you're going with it, but to me it is Patriots-esque, where it's like that's all great, and obviously I feel more confident in Sean Payton than I do in a first-time head coach with New England. But the depth chart is bad, and they have no picks, no assets whatsoever. So you need Marvin Mims to turn it around, or that's a bust. Cortland Sutton has been on the trade block, off the trade block, back on the trade block, snip, snap for years. No Jerry Jeudy. Like they don't have the guys, right, to support these guys. So like it could be fine, and he could have long-term security. And when I say long-term, air quotes, like 3 years, that, hey, we'll give you a chance to be the guy. They've got to get the skill positions fixed for whatever quarterback that lands there in this draft this year or next year. So Denver is really tough because I get it with Sean Payton, but similar to New England, I have major concerns there.
Yeah, the situation I likened it to is when Sam Darnold was taken by the Jets really early, and you kind of saw glimpses, but the skill position players never really were there for him to succeed. And remember, he was like super young, like he came in the league 20 years old. McCarthy's the youngest in this class too, and you can clearly see that. I think McCarthy is my comp I kept giving was a bigger armed Alex Smith. And in case you poo-poo all over Alex Smith, he was taken first overall in the draft ahead of Aaron Rodgers. And he had some good years. Like before Mahomes went off with KC, he was the QB6. And so I think that's kind of the ceiling for McCarthy in terms of like fantasy finish, like QB6, 7, 8 in a given season. And in Superflex, I think he'll turn out to be more of a QB2 that you're comfortable with. But my biggest thing with McCarthy is he going to be a better NFL quarterback than fantasy quarterback? That's what I worry about with some of these guys. We're talking about them, and people see them as a quarterback, and then at the end of the day, in a Superflex leagues, they're just...
Well, it's because they are quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, but then they're overdrafted in Superflex, is my point.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, we'll see with McCarthy. We'll see who trades up or what doesn't happen. Any last thoughts on Penix or Bo Nix? Because I personally, I'm saying this ahead of time, like I just have such a hard time seeing old quarterbacks be successful in any format. Like it's just so rare.
Yeah, it's tough. And looking at the board, there are quarterback needy teams, and it feels like they either have to go on them early. I mean, like middle of round 1 type of stuff. Or these guys are going to plummet. You know what I mean? Where if we get through round 1 and some teams have called the bluff of who's going to be drafting these quarterbacks, I think it's possible that both Penix and Nix topple further than all they're getting steamed up into the first round. And maybe by the time you're listening to this, I sound like an idiot. My hunch is that they fall out of the first, and now you're in second round quarterback territory where hit rates are not impossible, but much, much lower.
Yeah, those two guys, they're the classic profile of like every year it happens where they've got warts all over their profile, injury based, performance based. They got the warts. They're older, but every year, and you're seeing it like on our show doc, we have a resource we use, Grinding the Mocks. Basically, just takes mock drafts from all the industry, gives you an average. They're mocked, and this is an average, so it's not really true of kind of where they could go, but it's about 19, so in the top 20. But in the reality, the sports betting market is 32.5. So they're always overdrafted by mock drafters, and we see these guys fall year over year. So sure, could one of these guys sneak into the first round? I suppose, but I would not be shocked if they tumble out of round 1 and into round 2. And like Mike said, at that point, sure, in a Superflex league, take them in the third and kind of hope that you've got a guy that could develop. But outside of that, the hit rate on those guys is so low that I'm with you. I would be surprised if they go round 1.
Yeah, they're just candidates to be overdrafted in Superflex, where people end up taking them earlier than you should, and you're passing up wide receiver talent. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We're going to talk about running backs because it is the piece of the puzzle that I think every single person is clueless of what the order will be. Now, there's an order that we have in our rankings right now, but I think most of us think that draft capital will ultimately determine this order. Mike, is that kind of how you're seeing this, where it's either who's drafted first or who gets drafted by Dallas?
Yeah, the Dallas draft pick looms very, very large if in the second round they take one of these players, and maybe they do, but yeah, order of the draft is going to matter a lot, but because I think there will be a few guys in the second that the landing spot will be, it'll be a really big deal. So yeah, we're all eyes are on Dallas, because if Benson or Brooks goes to Dallas, then that dude is going to he's going to get on a rocket ship, and his ADP is going to be right in the middle of the first round, like a sandwich surrounded by first round wide receivers. But it's a day 2 pick, so it's going to be very fun to watch what happens. And I really hope that it's Trey Benson. I hope Trey Benson goes to Dallas, because that will be electric for everybody, and he will justify his very high ADP.
Let me just clarify about Dallas, because their day 2 picks are 56th and 87th overall. So it's kind of in the sweet spot for a lot of these running backs where they're at on big boards. But just to give you clarity, Tony Pollard is vacating 54% of the carries, 11% of the targets, and basically put together one of the least efficient seasons we've ever seen from a running back. I looked this up. He scored the lowest fantasy points per touch for any running back on an NFL team that's averaged 28 plus points per game. So like Dallas's offense was one of the top offenses of the league, and yet he was one of the worst over the last 5 years in fantasy points per touch. 16 carries inside the 5 turned into 3 rushing touchdowns. So I think Dallas running back, whoever that is a great opportunity. So do you feel like those spots bets could work? Pick 56, pick 87.
Well, you guys forgot to mention that they already signed their RB1, Royce Freeman, so we don't have to worry about this. I mean, yeah, it's obvious. They have a huge hole, a huge void on a good offense. And we always get in trouble if like a running back goes to a landing spot and they don't have the talent to back that up. But if Benson or Brooks go there, who I think we all agree are our top 2 running backs, we like their talent, then I think they deserve to jump in rankings and ADP for sure, because it's the opportunities there and we think the talent's there too. So obviously I wish the draft capital was better. I wish we were getting like a first round guy or an early second where like Swift went and Jonathan Taylor went and those guys, but that's just not the case this year. So I do think you need to lean more into landing spot more than usual with these guys. And if Benson or Brooks go there, I'm definitely going to be in.
I do have a question about Brooks. You're the medical expert. Apparently Mike and I don't really know anything about the human body, but is there any worry about whatever team he goes to? Let's say he gets top 50, he's a top 50 pick, that we're going to ease this guy in the first half and then he takes over in the second. Like, does that affect at all how you look at him in rookie drafts bets?
I mean, that's probably what we should all expect to actually happen. Now, of course, he is ahead of schedule because imagine not being. He's also in the best shape of his life because imagine not being. But
who isn't these days?
Seriously. But that's the expectation. Not only Mike's raising his hand. Not only are you expecting this player to spend a full offseason recovering from an injury, but also he needs to jump from college to the NFL, which there's a little bit of a learning curve. I know it's not huge for the running back position, but it's still something. So yeah, we should expect Jonathan Brooks probably to get off to a slower start this year, and his best, or not his best, I should say, but a much better season in 2025 than 2024 is what I would think. But if the landing spot is that good, I mean, I totally get it. If Brooks goes to Dallas, I think we should be in.
Yeah.
And I'll just jump in because I want to just reiterate how wild the rankings are on these running backs, where if you look, so Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network, super sharp guy, really tuned into prospects and everything. And he has a very different order of these running backs. And I'm just trying to confirm. I believe he has Marshawn Lloyd.
Yes,
correct,
from USC. Who it's like he's a very fascinating prospect, but he hasn't been talked about in the Dynasty community, at least not on our show, and not where industry buddies I have. They're not talking about Lloyd the same way we're talking about Brooks and Benson. So this is the NFL draft could be absolutely insane, and he has even Ray Davis of Kentucky, ranked much, much higher than a lot of us, the nerds in mom's basement, which Ray Davis is
40 years old.
He's just applied for AARP in running back terms. I mean, the Ray Davis is 24 and a half years old. Like, which honestly, so let's just real quick. Ray Davis ends up being the other guy drafted in the second round. Does it really matter? Like, because it'll be one contract, and most running backs, if you get through their first contract and you get fantasy production the whole time, you're pretty pumped about it. We all, of course, want our guy to be on our team forever. But if you get 3 years out of Ray Davis, who the age cliff is generally 27, so he might be able to give it to you. How much would you freak out, Kyle, if Ray Davis, old man, is, in fact, goes in the second round?
It would break all of my spreadsheets. I can at least say that there's very few running backs that are this old that just get drafted, period, much less like day 2 draft capital. Just to give you a couple names, and shout out to Julia Papworth, one of our writers. Since 2007, there's only been 19 running backs who were drafted 24 or older. The biggest names, Andre Ellington, former Cardinals great.
He had a moment.
James Starks. And then,
had a moment?
And then a bunch of names that you won't even remember got drafted. And
okay.
So it would be...
That's not great.
No. But day 2 draft capital is on the table for him and a bunch of other guys. I think the bigger point you're trying to say, Mike, is with running backs, it is so team dependent. Like, a team is going to look at a certain player and be like, we need Will Shipley because he has this pass catching profile. Man. Or some team loves Bucky Irving because they go, oh, well, he's James Cook. We could turn him into James Cook.
That's not as good.
Or Jalen Wright. There's going to be a team that maybe falls in love with Jalen Wright. I think the scariest one for me is I've kind of dug my heels in like, Blake Corum, that's not going to work. He had, 27 touchdowns. Let's just ignore the stickiest stat that we need for running back. So, I don't know, Betz, you did Blake Corum's rookie profile. If he goes on day 2 and he's in the, second round, he's like the RB2 pick, like in one quarterback leagues, he should be a first round pick.
Depends on some of the other wide receivers and where they go, I think, but somewhere in the top, 3 picks roughly of the second round, I would say, somewhere in that range. But
that's like his floor to me. I think he could enter the first round.
I wouldn't take him there personally, but because this is like Jahan Dotson a couple years ago, and I know last year was terrible, but like first round wide receivers just falling because we get excited with the running backs. Like, we need to remember how much draft capital matters in the NFL, and I'm with you on Corum. Like, my mind is open to where he goes and the situation and opportunity that he could get. What's so wild to me is like, him to the Chargers has been kind of the chalk all along, and people have kind of jokingly been like, he's going there. He's a Michigan man, of course, with Harbaugh. And then Albert Breer put out an article 2 or 3 days ago from Sports Illustrated, one of the kind of guys that's plugged in a little bit with the NFL. And at the very bottom, his last little nugget was like, if there's a way to bet on a certain team taking a certain player, and he put in parentheses, Blake Corum, Chargers, someone let me know, which is hilarious because you actually can bet on that. But like, he's hearing the same thing, right? So it's like, man, if he goes to the Chargers, like, you got to keep your mind open and understand the upside. But I'm not in love with the talent, and so if someone else wants to chase him into round 1, I would be passing personally.
Okay, another hypothetical.
Let's do it.
They're just coming to me. How much of an indictment on Blake Corum is it if the Chargers get their second and pass their third round pick and they don't take him?
It tells me that Harbaugh's not, he's not pulling the strings. It's Giro. Giro says like, hey, I don't know this guy.
They're boys. Look, if your former coach goes to the general manager and says, we need a running back. Like, it's not like a luxury. I mean, running back luxury picks, all the discussion aside, but I'm saying they need a guy. Like, you can't be going into a long-term future. Like, Gus Edwards is not the long-term future for the Los Angeles Chargers. J.K. Dobbins is going to be rehabbing probably for the majority of the year. You need someone else who is very capable, even if to be a 2-back system with Gus Edwards in the RB2. And if they pass on Corum, It may be reading. It might be too witchcrafty and diving too much into in between the lines. But I think that would be a fascinating scenario if he's there in the third for him and they pass again.
I think in mock draft world, there's so much groupthink, and Betz gets to look a lot of the betting markets, but like Corum is tied too closely to the Chargers to the point where we kind of know how this works. Like we have enough data. We've been doing this for enough years that like a lot of times it just doesn't happen. I love the fit of Jalen Wright. Like he seems like a really good day 3 pick that's different than the big body back they have right now in Gus Edwards. So I think he would be a really good compliment if they were to like pass and wait till round 3. But I did want to bring up Braelon Allen before we move on because
what if Corum is there in the third and they take Braelon Allen? Like, oh man, the drama.
I mean, it's a Big Ten. It's a Big Ten back, right? Harbaugh's seen this guy up close to personal.
Braelon Allen could be the probably RB2 in this class. It's hard for me seeing him go 1, but like from RB2 to like RB8 drafted, it is a wide range of outcomes. So let's say that he does get good day 2 draft capital, like because he could slip into the 4th round. Jason and I were talking about the other day. It's like I hate this for him. He will be, guys, the first running back to play his entire rookie season before turning 21. Like it doesn't happen. So production profile says yes. If you would have played, Jason talked about this, if you would have played Devy, if you're playing like college football fantasy, Braelon Allen would have been like one of the best picks. What do you do with Braelon Allen? If he lands with Dallas, what would you do?
Rocket ship. I'd be all in. I like Braelon Allen. I am into the idea of like his production profile with his age, with his ability. Like he can catch. He's not elite at it, but perfectly acceptable reception game and reception profile. So it would be. I mean, if Allen goes in the second round to Dallas, it would be really difficult to not put him at RB1 over my true love, Trey Benson.
Betz?
It's hard to argue. I mean, they have no one. They have no one right now on the roster that they actually trust, right? Like the running back 1 that I think we all agree that's going to produce the most fantasy points this year, assuming health, is whichever rookie they take.
One of the things I did in the article was just walk through with players like Braelon Allen and say, okay, here's 3 or 4 different spots. And one of the situations you could find him in, and a number of these running backs, is they're immediately in a committee. Like Buffalo picks at 60, and then they don't pick again until 128. Like Buffalo could take a bigger back because it's clear they don't really trust James Cook. You could have Baltimore, which a lot of people are mocking Baltimore to take a running back at the end of day 2 or day 3.
Don't do that.
That eventually. Don't
do that. No, don't do that. King Henry will live forever.
Well, the crazy thing is Braelon Allen is the only person in this class that has any skills remotely close to him.
Right.
So that's one player. Another spot that I was like, okay, well, the Rams are picking at 99, and other than Kyron Williams, they have no one else on the roster. There's situations like that where you wouldn't feel good about the immediate impact of these running backs, and yet they could get Charbonnet. That's what we're going to find out. Is somebody's going to get Charbonnet. They're going to.
Oh, it's happening.
They're landing on a spot, and we're like, well, do I draft this person in the second round or wait for somebody else? So there's way too many scenarios at running back, and I feel like we could have like one. That's the sad reality. We could have one that we're like excited about, Dallas running back, and then everybody else just gets poo-pooed on. So wide receiver is the big deal, though. That's really what everybody wants to know. And so before we go any further, let's take a quick break, and then we're just going to blitz through all of these wide receivers. I have the 101 in a draft in the Ballers main Dynasty League, and I need Marvin Harrison to go to the Cardinals because I need my sanity restored. And I'm excited. Like I'm excited as a fan. I know you are, Mike, too. So Marv goes to the Cardinals. He's the clear wide receiver 1, correct?
Yes.
Now, we're here to talk chaos, though. So let's say Marv goes to, I don't know, the Patriots. Or let's say Marv is passed over and somebody takes Neighbors with the Cardinals. does that change your evaluation? Because I've kind of said multiple times in this podcast, landing spot is not as important as talent. And I think Marv is ahead of Neighbors. Okay. So make me feel sane, people. That's all. This is a therapy session for me ahead of time.
Go
this
ahead.
Is a personal exercise for Kyle. No matter what, tell me to take Marvin Harrison Jr. And I still would. I mean, something crazy would have to happen for me not to have him as the top wide receiver for fantasy. Like you said, you bet on talent, you bet on production profile, you bet on everything you look for with Marv, and he's got it. So this is one of those things where I just don't get cute, really, with Marv no matter what. I mean, everyone that is not mocking him to Arizona is saying, well, he could just go to 5 to the Chargers, who have literally no one. And then you're playing with Justin Herbert, for years. And sure, they're going to be run heavy, but when they do throw, it's going to Marv. So regardless of where he goes of those two options, to me, it's Marvin Harrison Jr.
I needed to hear that, because if he goes at 4, then Marvin Harrison Jr. would join Amari Cooper and Sammy Watkins as the only wide receivers drafted that high over the last decade. It's a big deal. Like 4 is a bigger deal than 5. I mean, we've had some guys go at 5, Corey Davis, but the Chargers have so many vacated targets that, let's see what the number is, 65% of their targets. It's the third most over the last 5 years. So the Chargers seem juicier. And as I've been digging into numbers with Kyler, like, it's a chicken or egg situation. They haven't had any wide receivers, and therefore there's no production. But then you look at Kyler and you're like, you don't throw as deep as you used to. So I don't know, Mike, like, is there any worry? I know you're a Cardinals fan, but like, any worry about that spot isn't as juicy as the Chargers, whoever goes there, if they go there, they are the clear alpha.
I'll leave some margin for it, because when you're locked in and you are 100%, it's not a wise place to live your life. So I'll leave a little bit of margin for it. However, like we have seen what happens. Okay, well, I'm now walking through both scenarios of, like, we've seen what happens when Kyler loves his dude
and hyper targets,
and Hopkins got something like 85% of the targets. That's being hyperbolic, but he was like, his target number was outrageous. But we've seen that from Keenan Allen, and now you have, of course, different people in charge, but it's still the quarterback, and quarterbacks have their tendencies. And Malik Neighbors is, if that's how you want to choose to run your offense, through a guy who's probably going to be better in the slot, it's you yards after catch, get the ball in his hands. I mean, that's who Keenan Allen had become, aside from his rookie year. That's how he really succeeded. So sure, I'll leave. There's a chance that if Neighbors goes to the Chargers and Marv is in Arizona, there is a world where Neighbors ends up being the better pick.
But you would still take Marv.
I would still take Marv, because like it's probability bets. So I'm gonna put it on there, but understanding when you make the pick that Neighbors might be like if you have that inside of you, like, I think Neighbors is the better pick. Like, don't run away from that instinct if that's what your process has led you to.
The Giants, I think, are a hard team to figure out, because the domino effect has kind of been Marv, if he goes 4, Neighbors goes 5, and then Odunze is there at 6, or one of those teams pass on receivers and then they take it. The Giants are
brutal, an
absolute fart fest. I felt terrible last week the way I talked about Daniel Jones, because it's really bad. Like I mean, we talked about the Little Giants for a while. I mean, great 90s Disney movie, but this team is so bad when it comes to skill position players. We said they have the worst in the league. Like,
yeah,
nobody.
But here's what happens though. Here's where everyone that would feel bad. If one of these wide receivers goes to the Giants, what's their answer at quarterback right now? Like, when's Daniel Jones going to be?
They're punting it down the road if they're not.
Exactly, where you're not usually in these positions to go after quarterbacks. There's not always a ton of quarterbacks to go after. But if you don't take him this year and you ride it out with Daniel Jones, it's hard to see a world where Daniel Jones takes another giant leap forward and becomes truly a starter. And it wasn't just he had a really good year that earned him a bunch of money. He had the good year at the right time. But you put the receiver on that team, you get poor quarterback play. Maybe they even go to Drew Lock. But now, next year, they're searching for the quarterback. Are they picking high enough that they get the quarterback that they want? They have to send more assets. And now that quarterback has to develop. Just saying, it's like in the timeline of things, that the Giants feels particularly brutal.
Yes. That's what I think the hardest part of rookie drafts is. You're looking at the draft capital, and whoever gets taken at 6 overall, you're like, wow, that is insane when you look at just over the last decade. Just here's where wide receiver taken. And then you start to piece out like, okay, how does this team actually turn it around for fantasy purposes? Because it's not just like he's going to see a ton of targets. This team is so inefficient throwing the ball down the field. Like, it just doesn't happen. Daniel Jones, one of the worst in the league at throwing the ball down the field. So Odunze, I've kind of come around to the fact that, like, it can work. I just hate that if it's the Giants. Like, I feel almost locked in that he's supposed to be the third off the board in one quarterback leagues because of the draft capital, but I can poke holes and say, I can see how it doesn't work out. So Betz, I'm trying to figure out the line for Odunze in Superflex because I think that's the hardest part. I feel like Harrison and Neighbors are above, Caleb Williams is above, and then it's like Daniels if you need a quarterback, and then where do I go from there? So we're in a Superflex league. Where does Odunze, assuming he gets top 10 draft capital?
Yeah, and I think he will. Like, he's not making it past Chicago or the Jets is kind of what you've heard all along. So I do think he goes top 10, and he's got the production profile to back that draft capital. So analytically, he's going to be a very strong prospect that I think I would still probably take him over J.J. McCarthy. I think you can make the conversation and make the, the case that you would take him over Drake May. I think that's kind of where I would go, but I would probably take Caleb over him, especially in a Superflex league, or only in a Superflex league, rather. But that's kind of where I see the line for Odunze. But, I mean, he's such a good prospect, and the draft capital is going to be there. I don't want to overreact to a potential bad landing spot, just like with Neighbors. So those guys, I think, are tough, and you could put them in any order that you prefer based off a landing spot.
Is there any world where Odunze he goes to the Bears or the Jets, where the clear path to being the dude, you're gonna have to close your eyes real tight and squint and see if you can figure out what is the path for him to be the number one. Meanwhile, hypothetically, Brock Bowers goes number 5 to the Chargers and becomes the new Mark Andrews, the new Vernon Davis. Is there any chance that somehow Brock Bowers then leaps over Odunze for you?
Just the way that I play fantasy, in Dynasty, I can't see myself taking Bowers. Like, I'm going to be much lower on Bowers in every single format where it's just not going to be there when I'm drafting. So I actually kind of like Odunze to the Bears. I went against it from a betting standpoint. Betz and I talked about that. But, like, I feel like he's a low risk, high reward wide receiver 3 in his first year. And then who knows if Keenan's on this team next year, just from age.
That's fair.
And then you look up and you go, maybe the situation is stronger. Like the Giants, yes, he steps into targets. But I don't know who this team's quarterback is. If he steps in with Caleb Williams and a team that throws more, like I almost feel like you take the hit for a year, but this is a player in a situation that only will grow. So I kind of like Odunze, like sneakily, if he drops to the Bears, I think it's good for him.
What about Jets?
The Jets, okay. The Jets is scary too. Like I was.
Yes.
How do you guys feel about Rodgers? Because it's you can't tie any young player, Bowers or Odunze, to Rodgers for longer than a year or two, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't remember if
good?
TBD.
Rodgers?
It's a question. I don't know.
He was coming off one of his worst years as a pro before he left Green Bay, and then he obviously missed all of last year, so we don't really know.
Yeah, do you guys? I watched his whole game film from this past year. His 4 plays.
Nice, good work.
He didn't complete a pass. I mean, come on, right, guys?
I think that he will still be good, great or elite. That one, I don't know, but I think he'll still be good because he still is he still knows enough football. If we can can we convince him to go do another ayahuasca journey? Because that seemed to work out for the Green Bay Packers when he was doing that. But dude, yeah, the Jets are like the Giants. The Jets are terrifying because short term should work, but there's still a chance it doesn't. Like there's a chance it doesn't work this year, and if it doesn't work this year, good Lord, what are they gonna do?
I think in that scenario too, you're talking about a new GM, a new head coach, new everything.
Yeah,
it's kind of like they're all in for this year, and Super Bowl or bust is kind of what it feels like for the Jets. And then after that, you don't really know. Regardless, though, like he'd still be a top 10 pick with a production profile that you love. So Dynasty long term, I would still be very in.
Why is Nathaniel Hackett still part of this team?
Aaron Rodgers.
That is the only reason. Anyway, we care more about draft capital and talent over whatever situation, because all these wide receivers, things will change more rapidly than we thought. Okay, same thing with Justin Jefferson, right? It's like, he's always going to be awesome, and he will be, but the situation definitely changed. So let's keep going with wide receiver. Brian Thomas is an enigma to me because I could see him going top 15, which is a big deal. I could see him going in the late first round. So Betz, what's your read on right now where he's kind of trending?
Yeah, he was kind of steaming up to be like a top 15 pick, no questions. And then this kind of shoulder report came out a couple days ago, and he's kind of bounced around in like mock drafts and stuff between like 15, and some people put him to the Bills because it's so chalk that they just let him fall to 28. But I mean, he's going round 1, certainly. It's just a matter of like how high he goes and where does he go. He's a guy that when the draft capital projection looked like it was going to be top 15, it was like, you kind of feel like you got to be in on this guy, right? Because of that strong projection. But like you said, the production profile is lacking. It was 1 year. There's a lot of red flags you can poke in his profile that if he does fall to the back of the first, and it's not with the Bills and it's not with Pat Mahomes, like I see a path where it goes wrong, for sure. So I have kind of cooled a little bit on Brian Thomas. I think he's one of those wild cards in the first round where you see the upside case, but you look back in a year from now, I don't think anyone should be surprised if it doesn't work out.
Mike, do you feel any different today about your buddy Basket Catch Brian?
Apparently people doing mock drafts really, really love him. I still think, I think I'd have him at number 4, and he's a really tough gauge for me. I know Andy on the main pod is like, I believe he's all in on Brian Thomas, like really likes him as a player. And like if he falls, honestly, if he falls to the back of the first, and we're talking not anticipating any trades, there are really interesting landing spots that seem crazy because the nerds, we look at team opportunity, which it's a good place to start.
How dare you?
But I'm saying a lot of times teams will take a position that you just wrote it off completely because you said, no, they are 100% fine there. They have so many other gigantic needs that they can't possibly take a wide receiver. And then the Dallas Cowboys a couple years ago, CeeDee Lamb somehow fell to them, and they're like, I don't think we were anticipating this was going to happen, but we're still going to make the right play here and take the best player on the board. And they took CeeDee Lamb. And the reward for them is now tremendous. But like literally, the Cowboys at 24.
Cowboys are super interesting there.
If Brian Thomas goes to the Cowboys, I think that's an incredible landing spot. Like they have some, is Cook still under contract? I think he has one more year.
One more year.
But it's like, they're going to need to refresh. And Brian Thomas there would be amazing. The Green Bay Packers shock us all and take a first-round wide receiver and go with Jordan Love. Fast, okay, I'm in. Like, there's the bottom half of the first round has so many spots. Like, aside the Bucks, would it juice me up as much, but like Cowboys, Packers, Cardinals, Bills, Lions, Ravens, 49ers, Chiefs. Like, this is that whole stretch. We're going to be just glued to the seat watching for any wide receiver that comes off the board because any of those landing spots to me are fantastic.
The Cowboys, I've seen a lot of mocks that have A.D. Mitchell taken there, and that's kind of my question for you guys.
Oh, no.
If Mitchell goes ahead of Thomas, what do we do?
I think it depends on it depends on how high. If it's like 2 or 3 picks, like I don't care. I'm still taking Thomas. But if it's like Thomas for some reason, which I don't think he will, but if for some reason he slips to the early second round, you got to keep your mind open.
So Thomas, his range of outcomes is if he's taken top 15-ish, it's like, oh, I could take him in a 1-quarterback league at 104, ahead of Brock Bowers. You can make the argument for that.
Yep.
You could also then see him slip back of the first round, and he ends up, going 3 or 4 picks later because there's other guys who just have better spots. Buffalo wide receiver, I think, is going to be a player that just gets steam. Whoever that wide receiver is it Mitchell? Is it Thomas? Is it Ladd McConkey? Any of those guys. So Buffalo wide receiver, I think, is going to be boosted up above somebody else possibly. And then I just get worried. Like I get worried when I see Mitchell because every week I feel like I've gotten a different story because the analytics say nobody's ever had a yards per route run this low. Nobody's done zone this low for a first-round wide receiver. No one's ever been targeted on a per-route basis this low before. And yet, everybody's saying first round. So I need someone to tell me, do I trust the draft capital or do I trust everything I've looked at for the last 2 months?
Dude, they say what happens if A.D. Mitchell gets drafted way above Brian Thomas is the nerds, we all weep. We all cry together. Or
Andy will be happy.
Yeah, no, Andy does really like AD, but it's like the nerds, we will all cry and take a player that we didn't really want to draft, Jalen Reagor, or
go Eagles,
fly Eagles, fly,
or
baby.
the nerds, we all band together and we get proven right.
I think this is one of those situations.
That's the hardest part.
This is one of those situations where if you really feel like his production profile is that big of a red flag, which I do, and I think a lot of us do, and he goes to Buffalo or the Cowboys or whatever, and you're on the clock and he's there, I'm trying to trade that pick, truthfully, in my rookie draft. Because someone is coming to get that pick and they're going to be hyped. So that's how I'm approaching it, leaving my mind open to the idea that he could be a really valuable asset when you're on the clock. But we see these guys fail in the NFL all of the time. And it's like one of those, it's the meme, right? Like, well, did it work for those people? No, but it could work for us. And just using kind of probability-based stuff, I think he's a good guy to bet against. If you love him, go for it. Like, I see the upside case. I just am willing to kind of be wrong and willing to maximize value if he's there and I'm on the clock and someone wants that pick.
There's just a lot of wide receivers here. When you start going A.D. Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, who's Peter Schrager said, I could see first round for him, book it. Troy Franklin, who we like, but I have this lingering feeling that my hopes are going to be let down with Troy Franklin, that he's going to go to like Carolina at like 33, and I'm just going to cry.
We all cry, but you know what? It makes things easier.
It does. You know what? I'll never draft a Panthers wide receivers again. I've done that before. Second round Panthers wide receiver. Don't do it.
You know what? As much as you want it to work for everyone, if the NFL draft just wants to make it real easy for us, then okay, I'll take that path.
So is there any player that you feel like is more immune to a landing spot for fantasy? Because like we all like Ladd McConkey. We also go, oh, wow, 37 targets this past year. That would be pretty much the lowest for a first-round wide receiver. Like Waddle was hurt, JSN was hurt, but like for a player to play that much to get 37 targets and get drafted in the first round, we don't have data on those kind of players. So McConkey scares me fantasy-wise, but somebody's going to land with the Bills or the Chiefs, and we're going to do this dance all over again. So any player that you feel like is more immune than others to landing spot, I feel like the answer is Xavier Worthy to me.
That's the name that came to mind for me, for sure. Because a guy like Keon Coleman, like he kind of needs, with his lack of ability to create separation with crisp routes, like he kind of needs a quarterback that's willing to throw into that. Xavier Legette, kind of the same thing, like needs the scheme to kind of fit his strengths, I think. Xavier Worthy is just, Kyle doesn't think so, but he's fast. And coaches will know how to use that to some degree, right? So like his calling card of kind of how he wins in the NFL, I think is what it is, so to speak. So he's one guy that I don't think is quite a sensitive to landing spot.
To me, it's boring. It's Ladd, just because of he seems to be against zone. Like if he is matched up against zone, he's going to win. And quarterbacks love wide receivers who are wide open.
All right, I'm going to ask one more wide receiver question here. Xavier Legette, does he go in round 1? Because we're getting some steam. It would only be the latest breakout age for a round 1 wide receiver over the last decade. It'd be tied, though, with Kelvin Benjamin. So, like, nobody's this old who breaks out and goes in the first round. So, if he goes first round, how high does he move up? Because we have him at wide receiver 10, which I think is fine for right now. But, like, I mean, let's say he goes to Buffalo. We just hate our life, and then just
yeah. My stance is very much Jason's stance of it would be it's not the best that I like Xavier Legette so much. I feel extremely hypocritical about dunking on these other guys for their analytical and production profiles, and yet I should be doing that to Xavier Legette. But I think the dude just balled out so freaking hard in that 1 year that I think it's gonna work. But don't draft him. It's not gonna work.
I'll probably be out.
It's not gonna work.
Out.
Yes, Kyle. Thank you. Save the show. Save our dignity.
Just clip this part, and you guys can just share it later.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Quickly, tight ends. Brock Bowers. What is the earliest you would take
tight
him?
end 2?
Tight end 2, Brock Bowers. What is the earliest you would take him in a 1 quarterback draft? Betz.
I think 5th overall, behind the big
I'm more
3
on Kyle's
and
side.
Probably Brian Thomas. I think
I'm more on Kyle's side of I don't want to spend a high first round on Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out with the running backs. So I think up to 2 running backs, it's possible that I could like them more than Bowers. But I'd say like 107, 108. I almost feel like landing spot, I don't really care with Bowers because with tight ends, it just takes so long to develop. Sam Laporta is just an outlier. And then
wait, am I seeing here a Ben Sinnott consensus NFL teams are mocking him to the Kansas City Chiefs?
It's one of them. It's hard when you start getting this deep, Mike.
Brother.
What would you do if Ben Sinnott was a Chief?
Bro,
oh no!
It would be like
I've unlocked something in Mike's mind.
He's so happy.
It would be the greatest situation of all time, guys, because he's a tight end. He goes to a spot that has a starter, so it's not immediate opportunity. He gets to go and learn from the GOAT, and then be the next Travis Kelce. Who do I have to call to make this happen?
Roger Goodell.
I will do what it takes.
Yeah. I mean,
I will call him.
Mahomes,
I got Raj on speed dial.
Apparently, Mahomes has a lot of say when it comes to draft picks, and he's done really well with those in the past.
Okay, all right. So
I
need that inception machine, and I need to go get in Mahomes' dreams.
Yeah, you could do that. So it's Ben Sinnott or Jatavian Sanders. Seems like they're going to be the tight end 2. We could be completely wrong, but I think it's pretty clear whoever goes first, you probably would take. We've been down on Sanders. I've been down on Sanders. So Sinnott's the one that I'm just super excited if he's drafted in the right situation and a team says, oh, this can be a George Kittle-esque player who, fullback, this hybrid role. But a lot of times these players, I look them up, like there's players that get drafted in the 3rd round that have this type of athletic profile. And like Dalton Keene was like a Patriots tight end. They took 2 tight ends and it was like, didn't matter. The Ravens did the same thing a couple years ago. They took 2 tight ends. Took Likely and Charlie Kohler, and it was like, oh crap! Like, so it really just matters. Like, who is the team for Ben Sinnott for the sake of this podcast?
I want to be measured in the next thing I say, but the optimal landing situation for Ben Sinnott is the NFL.
Okay.
So if he gets drafted, he's in the best place that he could possibly be.
First the NFL, then the moon for Ben Sinnott.
The Senator is the champion of this podcast. If he goes to the Chiefs on draft night, everyone that listens to the show is just going to be so happy.
Brother.
Oh, I can't wait.
All right, one more segment.
Take it or leave it.
This is a ticking time bomb take because in a couple of days, this will expire. So just giving you a little cautionary warning. This is just one bold draft take that could be dead wrong, and you'll hopefully move on next week. So, Betz, give me just something you think possibly could happen, but you just want to call it out right now.
Yeah, no one tag us with old takes exposed, okay? I'm going to say a bold take is everything you've seen is Joe Alt to the Titans, lock it in. But Brian Callahan comes over from Cincy, and they were in this exact scenario a few years ago when one Jamar Chase was on the board, and it was Penei Sewell, and he said, we need to prioritize the weapons to get our young quarterback going. And I know they have Calvin Ridley with a massive deal. They've got DeAndre Hopkins, but he's 32 years old, I believe, on the final year of his deal. What if they just have Neighbors or Rome Odunze higher on their board? So my bold take is the Titans surprise us, and even after signing Calvin Ridley, they take one of these two wide receivers.
Two thoughts with this is this would basically take Treylon Burks and just throw him by the wayside.
I mean, he's already hilarious. There. Let's be honest.
They're basically admitting that they did it wrong with A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Second off, this is them saying we don't need an offensive lineman because it doesn't matter. Will Levis can't even see pressure. Doesn't matter if the offensive line is there or not. He's going to do the same thing. So I'll give one that's just inviting chaos, just inviting madness here. The Vikings don't take a quarterback. They don't trade up because everybody's mocked it and said it's going to happen. Instead, they roll with Sam Darnold and they just say, let's do it.
And after the NFL draft,
suck, but
or mid NFL draft, they trade for Trey Lance.
Oh, Trey Lance. Okay. And just get all the failed like third overall picks and see what happens.
Right.
I like that.
Right.
Dude, I think there is a really strong chance that the Vikings they can't. I mean, like that the price for them to move up will be so staggering that they just won't be able to do it. And so I'm with you. I don't think it's a total lock. But Jason planted this idea in my head, and now I can't stop thinking about it. But it involves a trade up. So it's like it's the Giants, it's the Broncos, it's the Vikings. I don't care who it is. They trade up to number 4, take Arizona's pick. Arizona just like everyone is freaking out of Marvin. What happened to Marv? He's not going to the Cardinals. But they get so loaded up with draft picks. They do what they did last year. They cash some of those out. They move right back up to number 5. They take Marvin Harrison, so they get the player that they wanted to get. Plus, now they have at least an extra first or something like that.
Monty, he can do it, man. He's willing to just
Dude,
go for
that
it.
video is back hitting the social medias of Monty working the phones just for the first trade. Because he moved down with the Texans and then he did move back up. But that access is unbelievable. Like that video is so well produced and with the music and just the really capturing the intensity. I mean, we've all made trades, and like imagine you're looking at a clock that is, 15 minutes? Is 15 minutes the first round, or is it 10? Whatever it is. And you have to get a deal done, or you're trying to get a deal done. But this pick is like, this is your job. Like, you get this pick wrong, you do this wrong, you lose your job, and you have 10 minutes to figure it out.
You trade or you die.
Like, the intensity of that moment is so... like the pressure, I would crumble, guys. I would turn into primordial ooze just on the ground, no skeletal system remaining. I would not be able to handle it.
Just you sharing that, I'm hyped. I'm a little nervous. I'm scared. You're feeling all those feelings, but guys,
yeah, it's gonna be great.
We're gonna know landing spots in just a hot second. You can go to udkplus.com if you want to get our Dynasty rankings. See us on NFL Plus on Thursday, and next week we will be doing a rookie real draft for you. So we'll see you again next week.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your Dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.